roll call at 7. So
Okay, Knut Kierkegaard is here.
Knut's here, Burl is here, Glenn is here. Don't see Jeff yet. No, I don't see Jeff. So, all right. So we got 2 absent, but we think Terry will catch up. So go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
The United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
nation under God,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Okay, brief review of the agenda for tonight. We've got 2 sets of minutes, one from the special and one from the regular April meeting. Finance report, airport manager update on procurement contracts, volunteer service, the usual stuff. Old business, we still haven't really converged on how to get the taxi thing done on Boeing. INF is going to give a brief report on where they're at with their situation. And it's tied into the scheduling and content of a public meeting to go through the financial issues. Firm announcement that the golf cart is for sale. Here are the bids. So please spread the word. Send your bids in by email to the manager at CameronParkAirport.org, and we will go from there. New business, we need to review the district policy and procedure for managing basically traffic on the residential side. And there's a resolution to decide whether we're going to establish a traffic rules and whatever it takes to try to resolve some of these open items. Phil Albee is here to make a proposal for an alternate measure to change the fees. And the motion is open whether we're going to continue, table it, whatever we're going to do. That ballot measure is proposed by Phil, so we'll have to fill in that blank on that motion. And if you don't know by now, this is the last meeting that we will have Kevin as an airport manager in attendance, and this is his last week. So we have plenty to do to get in a position to deal with that. So there's a beginning of some activities associated with that, and we'll talk about it. And some questions need to be answered and updated as regarding people coming and going in the office and various other things. And I thought that was enough. We've got some other stuff still tabled from prior meetings, but we're going to leave them tabled for the time being. Any problems, comments, needed changes on the agenda?
Looks good to me. I'd like to move that we approve the agenda as is.
Second it.
Okay.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 Is that Terry?
That is Terry.
All right, I'll put you down as present then. All right. So we're missing Jeff, but that's how she goes. All right, so the agenda is adopted. Now, the minutes from April 26th regular meeting. Let's see. See if I can get us to do that. Drop this. I think this is it. So this is the April 26 minutes, so we can review those. That was a regular meeting the end of April.
I just wondered if, to help save time, we could refer to the financial statements there. But
Financial statements as part of the minutes.
well, I don't know, but it's a lot of minutes that Terry has to write. But that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're always open to making it simpler.
Yeah.
So basically, this set up some stuff that we're still talking about this meeting. The thing we tabled was the rules of order and the procurement purchasing changes as a result of the classes, and that's still tabled. So any comments or any suggestions or other questions for the minutes from the regular meeting?
Terry doesn't have any.
Okay. So I've moved that we adopt those minutes.
I'll second that.
So it's up for vote.
And I'll
Aye.
vote yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like 4 yeses, 1 absent. Okay. And then the other set of minutes, I'll pull those up and we can take a look at those. That was for the special budget meeting. So this was an amended meeting agenda, basically to discuss the fact that airport manager had resigned and the immediate needs that we need to start dealing with in order to take that up. I think we went ahead and hired the audit firm to try to get things done while he's still here. We approved a resolution setting the appropriation limits, so that's in play. We made a plea for help, which we will continue tonight. We modified and approved the airport job description, which is now out posted, and started to try to figure out who's going to cover the essential operations, and adjourned it at 8:23. So any comments or suggestions on the minutes for the special?
No, it looks good to me. I'd like to move we approve the
Right.
minutes for the special meeting.
Yeah, I'll second it, and then we can vote.
Okay. Terry's yes.
Glenn is yes.
Knut is yes.
So I got 4 yes and 1 absent. So. Yeah, unfortunately, now I got to clean up some stuff here. Just a minute. Let's see. Okay, we should be back to the agenda for tonight. So committee reports, onward and upward on that. So do you have stuff to Kurt, dude, or do
I
you
can,
want to kind of do a light version?
I can do a light version. I don't think there's any major, but I can share it. Let's see. All right, just a moment.
Good news I just heard before the meeting is the other 13K of CARES funds has been approved and authorized. So we'll have a little bonus going into next year. We still have to figure out how to get the money, but at least we're getting closer to getting it.
Excellent.
Yeah, great.
And my basic thoughts are just dump all that stuff in reserve and then have some sort of a careful board approval before we spend it on anything.
Okay, so financial statements as of the end of April. This is for the assessment district. We have 56K in the redemption fund, and then the remaining 4 accounts are for the reserve balance. That must be at least $90,000, and we meet that and exceed it actually thanks to the CDs that accrue some interest. As you can see, the assessment district is due 37,000 from the general funds, and we have the next payment coming up September 2nd, which is both interest and principal for this year, and it's about $75,000. So we should be good on that. The next one is just the assessment district P&L. The expenses we've had is the district gets an administration fee of $1,748 a year that we were just paid. And then the company that manages the bonds and the loan are paid, I think, $4,000. I don't remember the frequency of that, but that's pretty much the only thing that's going on in the assessment district.
Mhm.
Looking at the balance sheets for the CPAD, so about 138K of 39K in the general fund, and as you just saw, 37 or 38 of that needs to go to the assessment district. Reserve fund for the streets is up to 24 now, and 35, sorry, and airport 24,000. And then we have about almost 50,000 in the fuel account, and we just ordered fuel today. So tank 1 went dry, at least down to the minimum. So we are going to get another load of fuel either probably Wednesday. Looking at the budget, there's nothing really else that calls out any major things. So the 10,000 from Caltrans actually came through as well. So that should show up on the May P&L statement. And other than that, I think there's no really, the reason mower and equipment is lower is that the money that was spent on equipment actually goes into the balance sheet instead of on the P&L statement. So that's why that we didn't use the amount that was set aside for the budget there. Otherwise, everything seems to be pretty well within the budget we set. So I think that's all I have, unless there are some questions to the financial statements.
Nope, we're good.
Good.
Sounds good, and we'll keep that reserve up because we have an upcoming bill to fix the fuel system, and then
Right.
just FYI, next year, there's likely to be no CARES income. And the understanding is that Caltrans 10K is in significant jeopardy, at least the last time we talked to Caltrans about it. So we have to plan on those going away.
Do you know, question for Canute, if we, I guess maybe it's maybe another discussion, but had we not received any of those, the CARES money or Caltrans, where would we be?
We'd be pretty much in the hole, I think.
Yeah, I think with the adjustments we made to the budget to get more money into obstruction mitigation, I don't think we would have been able to cover that. And the other thing the board approved was the in-kind donation for the CAL FIRE, which was not in the budget originally, and then also the equipment purchases, the vehicle and the mowing equipment.
And we probably would have denied the RFP for the fuel or deferred it.
Yeah. That's true, that one too. And then also we were able to put 15K into the reserve fund for
Next
fiscal year.
We got lucky.
Yep, it's good to be lucky. All right, thank you, Canute. And then Kevin didn't write his report. I guess he's backing things off a little bit, but that's okay. So any highlights that you wanted to indicate, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of things real quick in respect to time here is month to date for fuel looking really good. We got enough fuel in the second pump, as Knut pointed out, or the second tank rather, to carry us through the next load riding up, which should, the month continues strong. We'll be ahead by about 16% over last year, which was a good month last year, oddly enough, right after the grip of COVID, the panic part of it started releasing. We were selling a lot of fuel. So, if it keeps going this way, fiscal 21 will be a pretty good fuel sales year. Big thanks to Vic Garcia. Everybody's noticed the bulldozing down at the south end that looks really professionally done. That was Victor bringing in a cat to do that, and did a little trimming up around the swale to the north as well. So that's greatly appreciated. We'll use Main Air's little tractor with the blade on the end of it to knock down some of the berm. So that's really mower friendly by the time we're all done. You had mentioned the taxiway X in there. Dave Becker, I didn't know if he was going to really say anything about it, but just he took it upon himself to look into a grinder. He was looking for a gas powered one and was having difficulty with that. So we're trying to, of all things, come up with an electric one, which seems to be a workable path. It's just a bit of a pain.
I got a 7 kW generator that has 240. I don't know how much juice those things need.
Okay, well, we can figure that out. So just the point was, I didn't want to think that it had fallen off the radar. And then lastly, to underscore the fuel system, it's talking to us now kind of loudly. We still have the leak in the containment side of, I think it's pump 1 or tank 1. They'll be here next month to look at that. And then we still have the pressurization issue on pump 2, which is the one we're relying on right now since there's no gas in tank 1. So just again, absent some of these windfall gifts from the feds or the state, we don't have the ability to repair that thing. So we're kind of got our back against the wall in some of these places. So with that, I will get the report written. It's written in a narrative where, it's kind of storytelling. So all this stuff as usual will be in there, and I'll try to have that done by the end of the week.
All right, no worries.
Question, Kevin. So we got a waiver from the county, right, to continue fuel sales operation even with the leak in the containment. How long is that good for? Can that be?
I would call it an extension. I don't know that I would label it a waiver, but they hand them out 30 days at a time.
Okay.
And so we're good through, I think, the 3rd week of June right now. So my sneaking suspicion is that, unless it is an issue with the fiberglass liner where they can just put whatever resin in there they use to seal it up. If it's anything more than that, then we'll probably need another 30-day extension because they'll come back with more equipment. So fingers crossed that it's just a crack in the boat hole that we can fix with epoxy.
Yeah, and then just because it's fixed, we got to call the test people back and the county to monitor the retest. So it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, and they were the has material guys at the county were really adamant too that what they want is to permit the job before any work starts. So it's almost by definition a multi-step process because the repair techs will have to come out, assess what they're getting into. I mean, it's sight unseen for those guys right now.
Right.
And then they write up the permit. Matt at the county okays it, and then they come back out and work. So I think it'll be even the lightest touch is going to be a little painful.
Yeah, it kind of points out the world we live in with those in-ground tank situation. It gets ugly really fast. Okay. Anything else for Kevin while we got his attention?
This is Becker. I'd like to update you on my efforts to grind the X's. I'm going to start Thursday morning, and I've got Friday morning as an overflow. I do have a generator brought home from my work, so I'm ready to have everything truck mounted now. I didn't want to pull a cord across the road to somebody's house.
Right.
So I will be doing that work on Thursday and Friday, and I'm assured that the equipment I have on reserve for Thursday is the right gear. So hopefully it'll be done in before noon on Friday.
Okay, great. And then we'll take pictures before and after if you could remember, and we'll rub that in Caltrans for part of our report to them.
Okay.
Dave, are you all set? Do you need help, or are you staffed?
I might be able to need help if if you have availability, especially with traffic control, because we're going to be right dead center in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I would make it kind of a call to help them because I'm not going to be in town that day.
Okay. If
Well,
somebody
we've
can
got
help,
we have some of those barricades and some caution tape and stuff. Would that help?
probably just the John Deere with the flag is about all I need. I've got maybe a couple orange cones I've got already, so just
Okay.
that extra help would be good.
All right.
Anybody online that could help them?
Which day?
Thursday morning, mid-morning.
Dave, I'm gonna have to check on my schedule on that one. I might be able to help.
No problem.
I'd help you, Dave. This is Phil, but I'm Uber service for my daughter. It's taking her to school and taking her home. I could maybe help for a couple hours. We'll see how it works out.
Good. Let's just, all I can ask you to do is try. In fact, if somebody were to just go over and get the John Deere and bring it over and leave it there, that would be a big help right there.
All right, we'll work on that.
You don't have to stay around.
Between Kevin and I, we can get at least that done.
Boy, thanks, Dave, for setting that up. That's
Sure.
fantastic.
No problem.
Okay, procurements, the RFP for fuel system is underway. I haven't heard from them or made contact, but they've got about 2 to 3 more weeks and they're supposed to be wrapping it up. So we'll have to touch base with them and status. And what that'll give us is an actual configuration that should work in that general area if it's possible. And then a price and a schedule, construction schedule. So we'll have that to go targeting, figure out how to fund it. So we'll see what they come up with. But we need to make contact with them. So if I don't hear something, I'll try to reach out to them and touch base, see what's going on. And then we have the one fuel system repair contractor coming on board next month. I don't know if we have anybody else that has responded.
Is that the repair has been scheduled?
Well, the visit to come up with the solution and a price is scheduled, not the repair. As Kevin said, once they do that, then we got to go back to get a permit through county to do the work and then come back and do the work and then come back with a Forta test and test it while the county monitors.
I'm pretty sure that BZ, the service guys, can do the second 989 test, when they're done. So we'll just see how the coordination works out.
Yeah, maybe it saves one step there. That would be good.
Yeah.
All right. So that's basically it as far as open procurements and any service contracts we're dealing with at this moment, other than the routine stuff. Volunteers bumped up. It's probably going to go, hopefully it'll go through the roof next time. We're 175 hours in May from a combination of different folks. So if you're actually doing something for the airport, please let us know and we'll keep some sort of a record of efforts spent to keep this thing going, which is one of our sales tools for future issues that come up.
Hey, Burl, what tools are you guys using to get volunteers, keep track of that, let people know what is needed?
People are just a spreadsheet, and we just ask that people let us know in one form or another, usually email, what they did, how many hours they spent.
I'll send you a link to a free app online. It's up to you if you use it or not. It worked great for FOCA. And what it is we put how many people and what task is needed, send it out to everybody, and people can just click on it, and it's 2 seconds to sign up. It's something to think about. We got
Yeah, it's
more.
worth a try, because we're right now, we definitely need help. We're going to talk about that later. So that's a good suggestion that we could put to use.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. We get so many more volunteers than we ever used to by asking people. Now you just go there, look what's needed, and you just click your name and sign up. So I'll
Yeah,
send.
sounds good. Send the link to the manager email, and we'll pick it up.
Okay, I'll send it right now.
All right. Okay, well, we're to public forum, public comment. Anything from the public out there?
I got something if somebody else didn't already chime in before this. Nobody else?
No,
Okay.
go ahead. It has to do with cops and rodders.
Cops and rodders, and it kind of goes along. Remember last time we wanted on the board agenda, but somehow we missed getting it on the board. But really is to get that letter sent over, and I think we're looking at trying to get it before the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors meeting, giving it to the guys at the DHP, just giving the blessing from CPAD saying, hey, yes, this can happen. I know you guys are waiting for the latest map or something they're putting it together right now. As of right now, nothing's changed from last year as plans.
All right. When's the meeting that they need the letter by?
Let's see. I don't. Anybody know when the next?
Because the only way we can do it prior to the next board meeting is we'll have to call a special meeting just for that. If that's what we have to do.
Okay, let me get the exact dates and times on that, and
Yeah, let us know. The next regular board meeting is the end of June. So
yeah. I think we want it before that so we can get the permits, so CHP can get the permits request in and all that good stuff before that. But I think if you remember, we tried to do this, the board meeting last time, I brought an open forum and we just forgot to add it to the
well,
agenda.
yeah, do they have a statement to the effect nothing's changed, blah, 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 that they could send us so we know what we're signing up for?
I will send that right now to Brent to ask for that, and then that way it might move it quicker on.
That way everything's kind of clean in writing, and then we'll go from there.
All right, I'll send it to him right now, and I'll send you this link, actually to the manager. Since this is a board meeting, I know I brought it up in finance. Since it's open, I'd like to bring it up here and understand, is there any ramifications? Is there pros? Is there, how does the board view my thinking I brought up in finance, which is, hey, we got a bunch of people, and I don't know what the numbers is, but we got more than less of people that did vote for the recent Prop P measure. And I would like to post this out to FOCA, all 118 homes, and go, hey, everybody that voted yes on this, we still could donate this money to a fund in FOCA and cut a check over once a month to the airport. And I just want to make sure that there's no issues, anything there. Is there gotchas? Is there something to be worried about from the board? I just want to make sure we're doing this clean. And I think just by talking to people, a lot of people are like, wow, we would totally do that. Why didn't we think of that?
Well, I think as long as it's a FOCA operated enterprise, FOCA asks, FOCA takes the money in and then transfers to us for the norm, that's fine. The board can't do that particularly without.
But is there any gotchas between us and the board? There isn't then, Burl.
Not that I know of. The only you know, the only thing is just make sure the accounting is very transparent. So if somebody does contribute, they know it actually got where they wanted it to go. That would be my only
That's a
suggestion.
very good point. I think what we're gonna try to do is a PayPal account or something like that, and that way in this section, people could put for and put exactly like you could do on a check, you know, so that way it's very clear.
Yeah, that
I
would
think-
be my suggestion in case it gets mixed in with the burrito fund and FOCA or something. You don't have to re-extract it. So that would be my only comment unless Dave has something to weigh in. I think any way FOCA wants to raise funds and then benefit the airport with them, I think is fine.
I think
agree.
we should also make people aware it's not a 501c3, so whatever you donate is not deductible.
Right,
Yep.
and would it be deductible if it's in our taxes? What's the level of that? Well, I'll leave it up to Dave, or if you guys already know, how does that work?
I'm sorry, say again, if,
If the prop had passed, what's the write-off of
oh,
that?
if you can write off your special taxes, I assume, yes, you would be able to do the same with the increase.
I didn't
Yeah,
know.
that was-
But that's a CPA question. That's probably not something I should answer.
Dave,
This
any
is Becker. This is Becker. There are no CPAT obstacles to your plan.
okay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And,
Alright.
you know, cops and routers, like I say, they need to give us something in writing outlining that nothing's changed. They want to say, and we can gin up last year's letter and try to figure out the timing to get it taken care of for them.
Beautiful, thank you.
All right, thanks. Thanks for your support.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other public forum, public stuff for the moment?
If I could just, put a button on that cops and routers is, Dan, as you talk with the team there, be mindful that a key property now has a house on it there at the south gate. So there's going to have to be some coordination there not to make enemies out of the new residents. So I would be sensitive to that.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, we already brought up the last two meetings to make sure people knew very well that that's not parking of sheriff trailers anymore, so.
Cool.
But thanks for bringing that up, though.
Okay, old business. Looks like we've already answered A. Thank you, Dave, for picking that up. So we'll pick away at it. The grinding's a good step, and then we'll work towards the ultimate solution as we get a chance. I think if you want, I can speak for INF, or you can, Canute, however you want to do it. I can do my 2 cents, and then you can correct me. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Go ahead.
So INF has been working, we've lost one member, so we really need more people to be part of the committee to spread the work around. So we're gonna lose some efficiency in the fact that we've gone from 4 to 3. But what we're trying to do is finalize our recommendations for airport budget and a street maintenance program and the associated income recommendations that go with that. And the big change is we're revisiting the whole thing with some different parameters than were done during the white paper, and making sure that we have numbers that are supportable by real needs. And the whole output is going to be graphic in very few pages, and we're playing with that. So the thought is that there needs to be a lot of discussion about this, as each step needs to be explained. So I don't think we're going to necessarily publish a bunch of stuff for everybody to go away and think about. I think it really needs to be part of item C, which is an actual public meeting to discuss it. It won't be a board meeting. It'll be a public meeting to basically have a free discussion on the needs, where the INF will put out what they propose needs to be done and the associated cost. We can go through each item, and then from those items that have a cost associated and whether they're not currently covered, an income pops up. So I think we should seriously finish these things, get it available officially, and then the way to introduce it to the public is probably has to be through this meeting so that we can make sure there's no misinterpretation or misunderstanding on what's part of this thing's done. It's still you guys' budget. If you want, you know, things to happen at the airport, we can't do it at our current income level. And as we said, we're earlier in the meeting, we're going to lose 40 some K of income next year, probably, that we very judiciously used this year and got a lot of gain out of it, but that goes away likely next year. So those are the sort of things we need to discuss. Now, I do not know what El Dorado County is going to do. I know June 15, the state is backing out of a lot of the COVID restrictions. We will pursue the possibility of having a real face-to-face meeting, which I think is the more effective way to do these kind of discussion things than Zoom. So I'm proposing that we should really work hard to have this public meeting before the end of June. Maybe we can do it face-to-face. So that's my 2 cents. The rest of it is up to the board to kick around. We don't really have to pass anything tonight, but just that's where I think we're at. So, you know, let me know if I'm wrong or if you want to do something else.
I think that's good. I don't think we should let that meeting go, too far into July at least. We want to have it, obviously, as you said, bro, we want to have a face-to-face. If we can do that before the end of June, that'd be great. But we'd have to, if we can't do face-to-face, we got to think about how do we have our first meeting, in Zoom.
Yeah, we just Zoom it, and if we can't get an indication out of El Dorado County that'll let us have meetings, or somebody that kind of sees over us, then we'll plan a Zoom. But I don't think we should go any later than sometime in June. I think is what we're saying.
Yeah, because in July we of course start the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
But I like your approach. So this has been consistent. You're going to be the committee's going to be coming up with a budget number that says, here's what we need to survive.
Yes, it's a survival budget with some things identified that we think are part of the survival budget, but we need to vet that with both the board and the public, especially. Do you care? I mean, that's the sort of questions that need to be asked and answered. And it may indeed be a range. The recommendation may have a range of this keeps us alive, and then if you want to do this, then it goes to that. And we're trying to package it up so that it's clear, and that's not so easy, especially streets. Streets by far are the elephant in the room as far as the amount of money it takes to do anything with these streets. So, but we can't neglect one or the other. So it's a thing. But that's what we're trying to do, and I think we've got almost everything we need. We just need to figure out how to package it so it makes sense. And then I think the way to present it is in a public forum so that the things we stick up there can be asked and answered while we go. So we minimize the misinformation or interpretations that are likely to occur. Or a change in course. I mean, it can be construed as a working meeting. So if everybody says, hell no, I don't want to do that, then that goes away. That's how it works.
Yeah. I think it's a good plan.
But I think we need to press, INF needs to press, and we'll commit to getting this thing done and out in before end of June, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
As I mentioned earlier, we've replaced the golf cart, so it's up for sale. The suggested start is $300. The new charger itself is worth a half of that. So you're basically getting a new charger with a golf cart thrown in. Take a couple of weeks. Let us know if anybody's interested in it, and we'll go from there.
You want to shoot me any pictures, Burl? I'm happy to put it in next newsletter to everybody.
Yeah, we get pictures for.
Coming at you, Dan.
Is there a bidding process? This is highest bid gets it, but is there a process to folks should follow?
Well, yeah, after, just send us an email with what they think they want to bid.
Can you say it does include the charger?
Yeah, it definitely includes the charger. We have no use for it. And I guess if there's tie bids, well, there's a whole process we could explain in policy if we want, but I guess if there's tie bids, the first one submitted would be the dominant one, something like that. If we need to spell all that out, I guess we could, but keep it simple. If that's a concern, we can spell out the rules of bidding engagement and go from there. Okay. New business. This comes from Glenn. He brought this to me, and then I agreed that it's something that's kind of been in and out in various ways, one way or another. So it doesn't hurt for us to authentically decide to pursue this or not. So if you want to go through it, Glenn, feel free.
Okay. So living on Fair or on Western here, I get all the through traffic heading down to Boeing, and it's perhaps Boeing is the the main strip along the runway here, but Western is the access to it, and as a result, I get a lot of high-speed traffic down the street. Talked with other neighbors who live on the street here, and with the amount of people walking dogs, kids, strollers, bicycles, airplanes of all things, and cars, I would like to see what we can do to get the traffic situation under control. We have FedEx trucks and UPS trucks coming through. I've only estimated at this point, but upward of 40 miles an hour coming through. Seen cars zipping around airplanes trying to taxi, and so there's really no there's certainly no enforcement. There's not a clear understanding of how these roads are supposed to be used, right of way enforcement, and so forth. So I'd like to use this as an opportunity to open the dialogue here to figure out what can we do. Do we want to do anything? Can we do anything? And what would that be to start to address this situation?
Well, I'll start, Glenn. I obviously living on Boeing, I can only dream of people doing only 40 miles an hour, especially halfway down Boeing. I'm not joking. When I saw a guy, I could only estimate him going 80 miles an hour plus flying down in his Camaro. And I went to the stop sign on the way in and out. He wasn't there. He was buzzing around. I stopped him. I said, "What are you doing?" Long story short is these streets are so wide, it just makes me feel like I want to go fast. So I reached out to Brent, which is, "Hey, buddy, we're helping you with Hops and Rodders. What can we do?" He said, "Oh, you guys could definitely get together, write a letter to the lieutenant. I think it's Lieutenant Stover. They'll actually create an issue in the air park as an issue and start getting, like a couple of times when I've called, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the CHP at the top of the hill. Oh, over by Phil's house. They'll hang back there in the shade with their radar gun going down. And I mean, I'm not kidding you. It's getting worse because I think the word's getting around of whatever it is, but we're getting a lot more hot rod cars flying through here.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up, all the people doing donuts in here, just about taking out, crashing into cars in front of people's houses down over at Fairway, tire marks here. And I've gone so far as to film them doing it, capturing a license plate, hand the information over to CHP without any type of real interest taken in my
The
concern.
problem is I asked Brent about that. He said they can't do anything. You're not a peace officer. You can't say they're going fast. You can't say that. That was that person. They have to catch them. So at least I'm not a police officer. I don't know anything about this. I just asked him. He said if we actually band together like we're doing here,
Mhm.
write a letter to the lieutenant
Yeah.
and ask them to put a program
And,
together here.
You know,
to help
from a standpoint of ways that traffic engineers often control traffic, the wide streets, there's definitely something psychological there that opens people up to opening up the throttle a bit. And, you know, I've seen where they put constrictions in roadways to help slow traffic down to some effect. Even at some of the you know, at some of the intersections, even throwing in a stop sign, even if people don't stop for it, they'll likely slow down some, if not yield to, you know, it probably yield rather than come to a full stop. But, you know, that's another direction we can look at, make it, yeah, enforcement, of course, is key. And then establishment and proper posting of speed limits, thoroughly post them. And we should really even consider what our existing speed limit is at 25. If we have planes taxiing significantly slower, typically we work with the rules where the less maneuverable vehicle has right of way.
You know, and also that brings up a very good point, because today there was somebody, because I was working in my hangar, there was a Piper going by, had to be going 45, 50 miles an hour.
Mhm.
And that's taxing down Boeing, come on. So we need to get the word out to pilots too, because I don't see it that often, but today was crazy. It's the first time I've seen somebody going by that fast in a plane.
Were they landing?
Right? Yeah. We should have never gotten rid of those X's.
No, we should not have.
Well, here's what I know about it, is the speed limits are set, and I think we can go ahead and add additional speed limit signs. Shouldn't be particularly controversial other than who pays for them. I think adding stop signs, we're not necessarily allowed to do that. It'd have to go through county, because of this problem of privately owned public access roads that we keep banging into. The other thing I ran into about 8 months ago was some abandoned or pseudo abandoned cars parked in the street, and we did not have sufficient no parking to let them come in and enforce that. So I think no parking and speed limit signs to follow the existing is just a matter of initiative and money to put them in. I don't see as that would trip anything up. The additional stop sign, we'd have to figure out who has the right to put that stop sign up, and that's kind of messy. Some thoughts is go ahead and do it. It may have some psychological effect, but if you bring CHP in to enforce, they'll say, no, it's not, whatever. I don't know. I
Rules with enforcement are more damaging than the things that cause them to be put in place in the first place, probably.
Could be, but I fully support I think the board, a letter should be generated and the board can be the signatory of it to them to alert them to the issues. And I think somebody wants to draft a letter, we'll get it vetted through the board, and then it'll have the power of the board saying this is our problem. I think that's something we could certainly do.
Mhm.
This is Becker. I'd like to weigh in on this topic.
Yep, sure.
One of the most fundamental problems we have is whose roads are they?
Exactly. Yeah.
We have at the very base of this issue an attorney general's opinion that says they are the county's road. The attorney general of the state of California has written an opinion that it's the county of El Dorado that has the sole authority and jurisdiction to manage rules of the road for Cameron Park Airport, Air Park. I, as your attorney, want to say I fully disagree with that Attorney General's opinion. I think it's wrong. I think it should be resisted and overturned. The county doesn't want to run our roads. We do. We are the ones with the subtlety of jurisdiction about interplay with planes and vehicles and pedestrians and all the rest of it. We have airplanes with blocked tires, with high-speed RPMs going on. I mean, all kinds of unique situations that the county will never properly exercise their jurisdiction. CPAD owns the roads. They've been received by deed. When the county deeded the roads to CPAD, the county deeded the authority and jurisdiction to manage those roads, rules of the road, and all that stuff. I think it's super important to CPAD's identity and success that CPAD as a board be the body that adopts rules and regulations for the roads, that CPAD is the authority for deciding who gets to close the roads, when and for what purpose and what activity. The county is a very poor choice to manage that because right now it's a county, it's not a county road, let's say, it's not county maintained, it's CPAD maintained. So when the sheriff looks at the list of county maintained roads, which is what they use to decide whether they should enforce rules, it's not on there. And the CHP is equally confused about its jurisdiction, whose rules are applicable. I think it's a fundamental thing. I would encourage the board to consider making a policy decision that the CPAD is the one that should regulate these roads, and commission your manager and your attorney to make it so. And that the adopt rules, do all the postings. We don't rely on the county to do it. And then we enter into our own MOU with the appropriate jurisdiction and let them enforce these rules and just get it real clear. But right now we need to elbow the county off the skate ramp so that we are the only jurisdiction affecting and controlling the roads.
Dave, in that scenario, where does enforcement come into it?
Once we boot the county off of the jurisdiction, we then entered into our own MOU with local authorities to decide who enforces what rules. And typically we would either get into an MOU, memorandum of understanding, with CHP, or they're the most effective, I think. And we convince them that these are the rules that have been adopted. These are the unique parts of the rules. They will enforce them in exchange for, having all kinds of emergency access. We provided a public service for emergency medical and disaster preparedness, and they provide a public service in return for enforcing the rules of our road.
Would El Dorado County Sheriff's Department have any interest in enforcement, or is that all on, you think that would all be on CHP?
It would be a consensual committee study the issue. Once we get our jurisdiction back, we would, one of the first things we would do is meet with both sheriff and CHP to decide who's the best agency to enforce our roads and our rules.
Yeah, I agree. This has been a burr in a lot of areas, like cleaning up CCNRs. We're not allowed to do that because of this issue. The whole situation is because we're so unique, pretty much outside of us cares, but it does leave us open to a lot of stuff. So I agree with Dave. The question is, what's the process and how to proceed? So we need some guidance on that from my standpoint. But I would, as written here, it's a resolution. We don't really have a resolution, but I think to approve the effort, or whatever we want to call it, to establish a vehicle traffic rules of operation and regain jurisdiction, I think is what it should say.
Is it also, for what Dave mentioned, say that we're going to develop a policy, or motion to approve developing a policy? Is that, Dave, the first step in gaining that jurisdiction?
The first step is to say we are an autonomous jurisdiction entitled to enforce rules of the road on the roads we're in charge, we have control over. We're the most uniquely situated authority to do that. It is a policy of CPAD to pursue the jurisdiction over all road issues and the uses of our roads, and commission the manager and the council to put together a plan of action to make that happen. The second thing would be to develop a list of rules of the road, which I've already started drafting and circulated. And the third thing would be, once we get consensus on what the rules are, we sit down with both CHP and sheriff and we say, these are the rules. These are, this is what the county is saying about our effort. Because the first thing we would do is send a letter to the county saying, we want you guys to back off of the jurisdiction of running our roads. We're taking it over ourselves. See if they want to take us to court. Because I think we should take them to court to get them off of our roads. Just to get the Attorney General's opinion out of there. It's a non-binding. Attorney General opinion is not legally binding on anybody, just advisory. So we need to bounce that first, develop our rules second, meet with the agencies having jurisdictional enforcement authority third, and then implementation. It's probably an 18-month process.
Yeah, I think we should start though, whatever that looks like.
This is Phil. This evening, I stopped a Mercedes. He went up Boeing towards the north end doing about 70. And I stopped him on the way back and said, hey, you know, the speed limit here is 25. Oh, sorry. You know, that happens pretty regularly. And coming over the top of the hill up by my place here, I've seen a lot of them catching air. So they come over the top of that hill well over 70 miles an hour. And I'm just afraid of somebody being out there, airplane have pulled out, something happened and they can't stop. Maybe like we've had in other areas on the roads where there's 25 miles an hour posted right on the road, might be worthwhile to put it in a few more places. And then I know that people, when you go down the road, you see these flashing electrical signs that show the posted speed and what you're doing. And every once in a while, pulling one of those in here probably wouldn't hurt anything. And if we could get that from either the CHP or the Sheriff's Department, probably the CHP, that sure wouldn't hurt anything. And if you just have a flash, you know, when a car comes by, it just sets off a camera flash. That will sometimes stop people or make them think that you're taking a picture and slow them down. Some of our worst offenders are some of the residents here.
Yeah, I think we all agree we got a significant problem. So I think what I would suggest the board to consider then is enabling Dave as our legal consultant to proceed with the generation of this letter stating we're autonomous as an initial step, and he would give us a fee estimate, and we'll do that as soon as we can converge on an answer to that. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
So the motion is to approve our legal advisor to proceed with the outline of this initial step and provide us with an estimate so we can vet the funding for it for him.
That agree. So the result.
So it's, I don't have a way to, I can't overwrite on the PDF, but we can, basically what we're doing is we're authorizing Dave to proceed with the first step of announcing that we are autonomous to enforce these rules. And there will be some fees associated with that. And then as it progresses, that we'll have to update that depending on where it goes. But at least the initial step we could initiate. And in the meantime, well, yeah, let's do that. I don't know if it makes sense to spend money on additional speed limit signs or not. I don't know whether that contaminates our process or would help our process, but I know we're undersigned on both speed limit and in some sense parking. So we could put together a plan of where we think there could be additional signs and an associated cost without actually executing. So I think there's two parts to this, would be my suggestion, unless the signage idea contaminates what we're trying to do for some other reason. So I would suggest that we approve Dave moving forward with the initial step, giving us a price so we can get that funded. And in the meantime, somebody can do a count and a location proposal for additional speed limit signs and no parking signs.
I'm wondering if CPAD could take and put out a reminder in one of their letters to remind the residents that our speed limit is 25 miles an hour here in the air park, and there's no parking on the. That sure couldn't hurt, I don't think, but that's up to the board.
Yeah, we can always do that. We've done
Is
that.
Potentially, maybe one of the things that CPAD could specifically raise money for is the signs.
Well, or
I'm sorry, FOCA. I meant to say FOCA.
well, once we have a count and a cost, we can either choose to take it out of the existing street fund reserve or whatever we want to do. But right now, we don't know how much we're looking for. But I think actual traffic control, like additional stop signs and stuff, is probably problematic, but somebody can weigh in on that.
I just did a search for speed limit signs that have the GPS built in, telling you how fast you're going. Looks like averaging around $2,500 to $2,800 each.
Correct. If you want to go that route, yep.
I was thinking more of the portable ones that are on a trailer that they move from location to location. And I think that the highway patrol has multiple sets of those, and they'll just loan them to you for a few days. You put it out there to try and remind people of the speed limit.
Especially on the, probably even more so on the weekends, that would be most effective.
I agree. Yeah, because the volunteer CHP officers run those trailers, and they're all the same volunteers on the cops and rodders.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll ask Brent about that.
Yeah, ask Brent about that. I think the other problem we have is who's going to run this, because we're basically tapped out. So as far as any managerial stuff goes on.
Yeah, I think it's the CHP volunteer guys, the guys that wear the white.
Yeah, they'll do that, but I mean, manage this whole enterprise
yeah.
here from the standpoint. I mean, the board can, I think we should consider a motion to turn Dave on to do his suggested step one. And as soon as we get a fee estimate from him, we can look at that and get that approved. And
I'll jump in and start trying to come up with some proposals of what we might want to see regarding signage and location.
Yeah, see how many you want and where they are, and we can just get a simple price for that. And okay.
Isn't a couple of our residents volunteers with CHP as well?
Could be, but I think that's a good start, and I think this is something we need to stir this up and try to get a solution, because it's hung up a lot of things that are eventually going to cause us trouble one way or the other. So I guess I'm making a motion to authorize Dave to pursue outlining his step one and providing us with his fee requirements for the
Step one was to ensure that CPAD has the jurisdiction over the streets and.
correct, to make the statement that we're taking we have the jurisdiction for the streets process. So yeah.
I second your motion.
Okay.
I'll vote aye.
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 Okay, so we're unanimous on that. The minutes guy is gonna have to interpret what we said and
Yeah,
figure that out, but I think
I've got enough
think
pieces
we're
and
okay.
put it together, and when you get the minutes for review, please check.
All right, well, good. Thank you all. So the next one is Phil came up with a suggestion on an alternative measure, and basically he stated, paraphrasing, that he feels currently we're $300 a year. He feels that if we go to $600 per year per partial, with the increase 50-50 between airport and streets, it would pass. So the question is that is the board interested in pursuing that? Anything that goes on the general election through this process to be boarded, we may already have a time problem with the requirement for the 45-day notice for fee changes to the citizens, but I believe the actual documents are due to the county by end of June. So the question is for the board to discuss, is this what they want to do or not do? And it would be, I guess, a rewrite of Measure P to drop the increase from $100, $75 increase. It'd be a $25 increase, 50-50 between streets and airport. So I believe that's your proposal, right?
That's pretty close to it. Some of the issues that I think that I've lived here for over 15 years, and I think that Measure P was the fourth proposal to increase the fees that hasn't passed. And I think if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, it just doesn't make a lot of sense because it hasn't passed, I think, in four attempts, maybe 5 attempts. I have talked to people I know have voted no on this proposal or on the past proposals, and they feel that the fees are too low and that they would vote yes on this proposal. So if this went through, let's say we would have done this 10 years ago, which I know we can't go back in history, but just for an example, we'd have about $400,000 that we would have acquired through this proposal now. So knowing that we can't go back, we have to look forward. And by getting something is better than nothing. And in the last 15 years, over 4 proposals offers, we've got nothing. So this is my idea that I think that if we propose this and it passed, it would double what we have now. And that can't hurt. Should we wait a few more years and have another proposal not pass? Well, I can't say what's going to happen, but I don't know, but I believe that this proposal would pass. We have an election coming up towards the end of the year. We can get on that ballot for nothing or a very, very minuscule amount. I've talked with the elections people at the county, and they're willing to work with us. And my idea is so we don't have to rewrite everything that has already been vetted. We take the Measure P proposal, change the amounts from $900 a year to $300 a year additional, and move on and see where we go. If this were to pass and we would double the funding, it would at least give us a starting point. And once the funding was out there and we were using it, next year you were stating that we're going to be about 40,000 that we wouldn't be getting. This would cover that. Additionally, I haven't figured into the people on the east side of the airport. In other words, some of those other hangars over there. And if you were to effectively raise the fees over there per hangar, so we would get additional funds that way, it sure wouldn't hurt us. So
yeah, we've explored that, and there's no feasible way to do it at this point. Because it's a private property and it's a single property, and there's really not much we can do with whatever they do on their property.
So that would include if anybody had 20 airplanes on their property over on here on private property, we couldn't increase that either?
That is correct. And the reason is the rules now require us to determine a fee of what's the impact of one airplane flying out of this airport, and can only charge up to that point. It's very ugly. We spent 2 hours on the phone with a consulting company that's what they do for districts, and we couldn't come up to a solution that would work.
Hmm.
So
Well,
given the new rules, we don't have the ability to basically assess a fee to multiple airplanes yet at this point. But it's not a bad idea. I'm just saying it's right now, we don't see a path forward with the people we've talked to.
So
It
it's,
is the issue that you need a professional company to justify the fee and make sure that it's documented why it needs to be that, and that in itself costs more than the money we would raise from the fee.
Correct. And then the other part of it is they're the companies that do this, and they couldn't see a way to come up with a fee that would amount to much, because they say you would have to basically track public non-tenant planes that fly in here. You need an actual count of aircraft coming and going, and then you determine which ones were I mean, it just becomes really a mess, trying to follow their thinking and complying with the Assembly Bill 218 and the other laws that are now in play. So, so I don't think that's very feasible, although it's not a bad idea to try to do, but we did not see a path forward on that. But I think the issue today is whether the board feels that something is better than nothing at this level. And the other question is who's going to run the program to try to get this measure through. And then we have to deal with the issue of the notice to the residents and whether we're already late. So those are the three things I see from Phil's suggestion.
the notice may not quite be have the same issue because they wouldn't be voting on it for an excess of 45 days. It's just we have a limited time to make the effort to get it into the county for them to review it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the schedule could be worked out. So I think the real fundamentals for the board to discuss is this worth doing? And then who is going to do it? Those are the two questions as I see it. So.
Well, it just seems like there's a valid concern about funding for the airport and the streets. And I believe that this would help us on that issue. May not give us everything we want, but it would be a move forward to at least somehow do something, because for the past 15 years, we haven't been able to do it. I believe this would pass.
So the question that I have goes back to the finance committee. This would raise 36,000, and as Phil said, it would be split between the airport and the streets. So of course, 18,000 to each of those. Guess bouncing that against kind of the survival and the budget numbers that are being worked. How does this compare? I mean, we got the 40,000 or so this year that went pretty much all to the airport. We put 15 of that in reserves, and we're just making it. So 18 is still going to be $22,000 less we need for the airport. Then the other question is, what's our alternative?
My thoughts on that are, it may not be all that you want, but it's better than nothing. And so if we continue to go the way we've went for the past 15 plus years, where if we would have done this, we'd have excess of $400,000 that we would have acquired where we acquired nothing. So I understand that there's always more needed, but starting with something is better than nothing. And so that's the reason why I've come up with this.
Yeah, I guess my concern is, if we don't get any of the, we got lucky this year and got out to 40,000. And next year we don't get that, this doesn't save us. This doesn't necessarily keep us, I think, it's a question finance to him, but everything I've heard, this doesn't necessarily keep us survival for much longer.
And would nothing be better?
Well, if you're looking at a melee,
that's my question. I
understand.
Well, let me offer that, to Phil's point, it may not be all that you want. So that's the budget side of it. On the feature side of it, it might be time for you guys to face the facts and say, look, we're going to shut the lights off and you won't have to spend $30,000, $40,000 on cutting trees. Mr. Brooks doesn't get his stomach all squirrely about landing through the trees in the dark. So do you need fuel? Do you need nighttime landing? I mean, there's a way to meet in the middle. You can bring the floor up to the money and the money down to the floor. So, move the bar if you want, but if it's something that's going to pass, I would suggest that if you analogize to a melee man trap, you got a big hole, and Phil's suggesting putting enough dirt in the hole to cover up the spikes at the bottom. So you're still going to need somebody to come and get you out of the hole at the end of the day. So exiting manager's opinion, I think you guys need to embrace where you live. And this is so long overdue that it's painful. So I'll be quiet.
Kevin, this is Becker. Do you remember what the notice requirement for the members before the board acts on something, a fee raising, even a motion before the board?
Yeah, I think it's 45 days.
45.
And you guys think we can actually get the county to give us a placeholder for on the ballot for a resolution before we adopt it?
Don't know.
Okay.
No, it needs to be fully adopted or they won't accept it.
And we
They need
can't
the resolution, I guess.
we can't legally adopt it until we give 45 days advance notice to the people in the air park?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there needs 2 board meetings to approve it. So,
That was my recollection, 2 board meetings, first reading and second reading. And
I have talked with the Board of Elections here in El Dorado County, and they're not 100% down to the minute on submitting it. If you give them,
Yeah, but the Board of Elections doesn't regulate special districts, which is the problem that we're trying to see how it works.
Bob, are you trying to get it on the ballot, or are you trying to meet the requirements of a board?
Trying to meet the requirements of a special district.
Yeah, well, I don't know. All I'm doing is trying to help you guys get a little more funding for the future.
so I think the way out of this is to, if the board's willing to adopt the effort, then the board agenda continues this matter to comply with all the regulatory requirements of advance notice and have it come back up before the board when it's first able. And after public comment and all, the board can decide at that point, not tonight, whether to adopt it. And then we just get it on the next available election, whenever that might be. I don't want to sacrifice a good effort this year because we have elections every year. So we have midterm elections next November. But let's not let the steam out of the engine at this point, is my recommendation.
Yeah, and the other thing I would like to try to do, we thought we had done this already with the other measure in that we did a poll of as many people that would respond and all agreed to pass that amount. But when it came to the vote, it didn't pass. And it basically didn't pass by about the same number of no votes that was of the 2018 election. So 2 sections ago, the board said they didn't feel like trying to pursue a 2/3 vote measure at this time. But I think we could certainly try to gin up some kind of a poll and see if there is traction for one at this amount or not, because given the circumstances, every little bit helps, as long as it doesn't contaminate something else. So I think it's a combo. I think this would be our first salvo at discussing fees again, and then we'll push forward for the resolution the next, when we have the time is clocked out on it. And in the meantime, we should try to figure out, I know Phil was opposed to Measure P strongly, and he may have, I don't know how many voters you have behind you, whether that's enough to swing it next time or not, because there was other significant groups that were strongly opposed and organized. So it's hard to say. So I think we should try to get some data to support that the amount was the problem. So that would be my suggestion.
I've personally spoken with 10 to 12 of the no voters who would vote yes for this.
Okay.
And that would get you through the 2/3 requirement.
assuming all the other yes voters agree that this smaller amount is worth doing, which we don't know.
They may not. I can't say anything.
Yeah, so that was kind of my point, is before we go, because yeah, it's free, but there was hundreds and hundreds of hours put together in conveying the information, having meetings, yada, 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 try to get Measure P through it. I don't know if any of the team that did that is interested in doing it again without an assurance that it's going to get done. So I think we can certainly work a poll system through. If we could actually put it part of our budget workshop, I think would be a good time to do it, because Zoom has a voting capability. Let's take a straw poll and see what we get. You know, doesn't hurt. And I think I agree with Dave. From what I know, we've probably missed this next election, but we have to follow the rules associated with a special district. The elections board doesn't care as long as you get the district approval of that, but the district can't legally approve it without these notices, unfortunately. So
We
but
may
I also
do-
agree we shouldn't just let it die. I think we ought to keep digging away at it. So
we may be able to inform the elections board here in El Dorado County that this is a proposal that's pending, and for them to be aware of it. And I think that will fit within the June 30th requirement that they have for them to get preliminary notice. And
it
so
might.
it would fit within the 45 days, being
Yeah, I guess.
just a few days more of, or less than 45 days now, just giving them
I just
a
remember
heads
from
up.
last year, they did require the resolution in order to to put it on, and they have to do the financial impact analysis of it, and
Well, we can ask. I don't mind asking them and
No.
see if we can get some traction there. But I suspect not. They were pretty rigorous on that part. But I think let's go ahead
think-
with the concept. We've now started the process from the standpoint of announcing consideration of a fee. I think we ought to bring it up at the budget workshop and see if anybody is interested on the yes side, and that'll kind of give us some data, and then we'll pursue as soon as we can get it on a legitimate ballot. I think is what we can do at this point.
oh, yeah,
Assuming
maybe
everything
the
else
right
is-
approach is that we do get a little bit the first time, but then maybe raise it $5-10 a year after that if we can. But no.
And that would be very possible.
That was my concern as well, because you go to the well once, and then in order to do this, to get us funded to where we need to be, we're gonna have to go to the well every year for 10 years, kind of to your point, Phil. You know, do it every once a year, add another $25 to it to get it to the point where in 10 years where we are at where we should be. But I think people are gonna tend to tire of everybody going to the well once a year to add more money. And that's where I know trust was an issue in the past, where they didn't trust the board's, fiscal prudence. And I think when you go to the well too many times, you get burned out, and you're not going to get even $25 passed.
And I kind of agree with you a little bit there, but because of the past board actions, not this board, but previous boards, what has happened is they're very gun shy. I mean, that's basically it in the nutshell. And so because of past issues, a lot of the people who vote no are very concerned that we're going to have maybe not with this board, but this board we're going to have a new board in 2 more years, or part of a new board in another 2 years after that. We never know what we're going to have in the future. And by starting out with a lesser amount and the board showing the residents that they're using their money judiciously, maybe they'll say, okay, you've proven to us that you're going to use our money in a way that we think is appropriate. Maybe we'll take and give you more. I don't know. Everybody's got their own opinion.
So I
But-
suggest that we proceed to try to vet this, making this the first announcement of a potential fee increase to the residents. And we can add a fee discussion to this budget meeting we're gonna have in June, and make a vote part of that, is be my suggestion, to try to get some more data on what people are really up to.
Mhm.
I don't disagree with Phil. I know what he's talking about, but I think there's this other bunch that might say, no, I want to, what, I don't know. Who knows what people
And
are gonna do.
there's nothing stopping anyone
and,
from donating.
And then tonight we'll start the clock ticking towards the system that allows us to get it to the elections committee. I'll give them a call and see if there's any leniency on that.
Sure. One thought is just so, the previous measure before Measure P was a $600 increase, which failed also. Oh, and that was 3 years ago? Maybe,
Yeah, that
That
was
was-
the
that was-
streets only.
That was streets only. Yeah.
right. And so that's where I'm getting about, who knows, people are going to vote, but a $300 increase, I'm pretty sure would pass. And we had a $600 increase fee fail, and then we had a $900 increase fail. So that's why I'm so adamant possibly about going with a lesser amount, getting something going forward.
No, I understand. I think that's a valid thing you brought up, and I think we need to take it seriously and move forward with it. I would just, because of the timing situation, we can still get it going,
Mhm.
so to speak. Unless everybody has vehement opposition to that approach, so.
Well, my feeling is we should work to get a measure on. I may not agree with the amount, but if that's what we can get approved, that's.
Well, I think the message to give to people is, we need this amount, but then you're in jeopardy of this, and this not continuing. So it's their choice. It really need to be, they need to understand we've all got 30-plus-year-old stuff, and if they, the stuff's gonna quit and we're gonna have to go to a loan or something later on. That's why I think it's complex enough. We should try to have a face-to-face to kind of run through these issues with people present, and then we'll see where they're coming from. But I think it's good. So I think the motion is that we will continue this. This is our first announcement of a fee discussion for the near term, and I'll check with elections and see if there's a hope of squeezing it in for this year, this June thing. And then I think we should make it a topic. Part of the budget discussion is whether this is something people want to pursue or not, so we get some additional public input from the people that may show up to that meeting. So that's my suggestion to the board.
I agree.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do. So thank you, Phil, for thinking of us. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yeah, thank you, Phil.
And I think it's a challenge, and I think, as we've said many times before, it's a matter of what these people want this neighborhood to be in 5-10 years out. And I think we need to have these discussions. So, yeah.
And Burl, this is Jeff. I just going through the, kind of going back to when we were doing the Measure P, we were having those get-togethers to kind of spread the facts about the measure.
Right.
And, we had pretty much the same 30, 40 people showed up, every time.
Correct.
And so I think for this to work, where the folks that didn't vote for it is, kind of, do some outreach on that, and to get them, do whatever we have to do to get them to come to these meetings so that they can express their concerns and truly, listen to what our challenges are. And we're kind of hovering on the brink is, we're one failure away from, being
Yeah,
out of money.
perhaps. Well, if Phil wanted to, he could push people to go to one of these meetings for us. I mean, I think He could participate also, kind of lead the pack. We did have volunteers that went essentially 100% door to door through the whole residential district to get inputs, and a lot of those people that indicated yes changed their vote after the fact. So whatever influenced them and who they are exactly, we don't know. But
because I think that's one of the big, one of the big things to kind of unify around the cause as a community is,
correct, and we got a lot of work to do there as a community, because we're not a cohesive community by.
We don't want to be the us versus them, and if we can, get the message out that, hey, this, you may have not liked Measure P for one reason or another, but okay, here's our challenges, and it's your community too. If they may not care about a runway, but everybody that lives in here cares about the roads. And we saw the estimate from one resident on just fixing the road right in front of his house, and it was, 10 grand. And
Yep.
so $30,000 don't go very far.
Yeah, and we're trying to package up the output from the INR committee to make that clear, and it's also clear, it's up to the residents. Do you want to fix this stuff or not? And they need to, but it proved to be a lot harder than I thought it would be to convey information out, because a lot of it was taken out of context and or blatantly changed in the gossip that went around and around and around, and it's a challenge. But I think trying to work towards a cohesive district is very important, because we're so small. It doesn't take more than 15 or 20 dedicated people to stop anything we want to do with this process. So
Just
to
give you a little more information. To give you a little more information, I talked to some of the folks that were vehemently against Measure P that lived on Fairway, and they said they would vote yes on this.
Okay, well, that's a start. Good. And I would be interested to know what their problem was. Is it simply money? Is that their problem?
They don't. The board has done a poor job of managing funds in the past. I'm saying this board, but past boards have done such a poor job of managing funds in the past.
Okay.
They're not willing to, they want to move forward slowly.
I got you. And yet they don't participate in any of our meetings. So. All right, well, good.
A lot
Thanks.
of them don't have it.
Yeah, they don't have the ability to, because of the Zoom thing. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I think we've got to start on this one, and I think we have a path forward, and it sounds like the board agrees to that approach. So we'll go from there. Okay. Next item near and dear to our heart. We have a resignation of the airport manager. We need help. We need boots on the ground that are the right boots in the right places at the right time. And we have nowhere near enough people participating. We need to spread the word. Focus is going to help us a little bit with that. And I like his idea of an app to pick what you want done. We have come a very, very long way from where we were 2 years ago, and all of that is going to go down the drain at a pretty good clip if we can't cover the necessary functions while we're searching for an airport manager. So, so I think I don't want to go through all of this stuff in great detail. I know that Director Bolin and Director Kierkegaard are working on both a specific task list and trying to come up with additional volunteers and names. We really need to get the word out in the neighborhood that things aren't going to get done that are necessary to get done if we don't get enough people to join in. And it also is an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what it takes to do some of this stuff, which could be helpful down the road for them and us. So for the minute, we're okay, but we're gonna have challenges, and don't be surprised if things like restrooms get locked because we don't have anybody around to watch them. And we'll do our best to maintain obstruction mitigation, keep the fuel system functioning, and try to maintain some regulatory interface with these things that are critical. But everything else is on the table for not getting done. So that's
Thank you.
kind of where we're at.
Point out that list, which we had discussed last week. All but 2 names on there are all board members.
That is
And
correct,
it's,
and we're
here
trying to
again.
get some new faces out there, you know.
Right.
So I don't
so
know I don't know how to do it other than plead. We can send a separate CPAD email once you guys kind of have your list firmed up of essential functions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
what I
think
have-
I think it needs to be a little bit frightening in that, you know, it ain't gonna happen. This stuff isn't gonna happen unless we get some help, so to speak.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Knut and I work together on it, but some of the approaches here is to put that list with kind of a definition, you know, on a easily identifiable tab on our website. Like to consider also having a volunteer workshop, which may be a Zoom meeting, and see how that goes. And if we could do one in person, you know.
Yeah, I think
It'd
the
be
more the
multiple.
merrier. And then Dan had mentioned an app he's got that he basically lists tasks and people kind of sign up as they see them. So it's not just a blank check.
Yeah, and that works good for, you know, a certain segment of our demographics here, but there's the others are going to take face to face and
Yeah, and we have no, I have no feel of what it's going to take to find another manager, given all of the situation. But it's out there posted now. We'll see, you know, what comes out of the woodwork. Last time we did this, when basically I did it, we had 135 applicants, of which 3 were worth interviewing after all that screwing around, going through all those resumes. So we're trying to up the game as far as filters go, and we're going to run up some bills. I think I'm going to run up, because we're allowed to go to $1,000. I think I'm going to run Indeed up to $1,000 and then let you know what we found. Basically for candidate when they find one. So that's within
We
the
have
purchase
a
order.
deadline for applications now.
Has anybody made any effort to do any headhunting at the local airports?
I don't think anybody's had time to headhunt at the local airports, no. But if you know somebody that knows somebody, let them know we're looking.
I may actually go up to Placerville and talk to those folks up there. I know they have a state job or a civil service job, but who knows?
You never know. It doesn't hurt. They may know somebody that knows somebody too. That's, you know, how it came out, how we found Kevin actually. So get the word out. You know, we don't have a lot of work, and our thanks, I guess. And the other issues I think are details we're going to work out when we start getting more people involved, is where we're going to do with keys and liability releases depending on the type of work they're doing. So that's where we're at. So I encourage people to, you know, it's kind of gloom and doom because of the same workforce that's got you night ops back is the same people that are now expected to run this place with no help. And speaking for myself, I'm tired. Unless we get a strong show of support, it's hard to cover all of these things anyway, and it actually starts falling off the cliff. So I mean,
Do you have a schedule for doing some training on your fuel system over there where you're going to have more than 1 or 2 people that are going to?
we already that's already done, and people didn't. I don't know who showed up. Not very many.
that was
So,
Jeff, myself, and Knut.
yeah.
I may go over to talk to Kevin if it's okay with you in an emergency. I can probably go over and look, you know, take some necessary.
Well, let us know what you want to participate in through through the manager. I don't know, he's pretty well booked until he's gone, so I don't know how much
Okay.
time he's got to do anything.
Yeah, I don't want to bug him if he's too busy, but if you wanted somebody to just show you where the stick is and where the forms are and where, how you read the meters.
Could be. Yeah, if you have interest, I know you've mentioned interest in like emergency response.
Right.
Let just send an email, something through the manager or email. Let us know what you want to be playing with, and we'll get back to you, or get you on a
Okay.
list or something, depending on how it evolves.
Yeah. It just, if you don't have anybody else that's trained, it's nice to have a couple extra people.
That's exactly my point, and we don't have enough people right now.
So Burl, this is Jim. Got a little bit of feedback. Some of these tasks seem daunting, right? It's going to be hard for somebody to look at one of these tasks and say, oh yeah, I'll monitor and support financial audit, right? That just sounds unbelievably daunting to me, right? I'm not a CPA or anything, right? So my feedback is, if you're making these task lists, right, be very specific about what the task is and maybe an estimate of hours on it, right? So somebody can look at and understand what the commitment they would be making, right?
Yeah, well, actually, Canute's doing that right now. This is our first cut at it. So, but that's a very valid point. And I think the estimate of time is a really good one, because we hadn't thought of that. So
I think some of the
Yeah, what's
tasks
your
can't really
comment?
be divided up, like accounting and receivable and payables, right? You can't really have 10 different people.
Yeah, so I think what my point in bringing that up is, somebody like Canute, that's going to take him, he's not going to be able to do anything else. And
Right.
that's kind of the point. So the other lesser things we'll do, but I think that's a very good point. We need to make them fairly small and digestible.
Right.
Can you pay any of these volunteers? It makes it a little bit more palatable. I know the money isn't a big thing for a lot of people, but it just makes it a little more palatable. That lets people know that they really are services really appreciated.
I suppose we could if we made them employees of the district, but that's a very costly operation on our part, and all of the other overhead that goes along with running a payroll.
Well, not so much that, but a contract employee, someone's willing to contract for their day labor.
That's a possibility. I'd actually thought of checking temp agencies for some of these basic tasks and see if we want to go that route, but I wanted to run through the ask for volunteers point first. Okay, well, so that's where we are. We've got Kevin for one more week, and then we're on our own again, guys. One thing, is he still on? Did you disappear, Kevin? No, he's still there. I wanted to particularly publicly thank him for all that he's done for us, above and beyond what we had hoped for, and particularly his talent at sweet talking people into cutting trees and doing stuff regulatory wise that we're going to sorely miss, because we don't have anybody else even near that. And all of his free legal advice, his free talents on all of this stuff. It's been an extremely good experience for me having him around as the manager. So I just wanted to convey a public thanks to him for all of his work that he's done to here, and I hope he does well in his next job. And if they fire him, we could probably work something out here depending on what we find. So, anyway, thanks, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Appreciate the kind words.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're very, very fortunate to have such a competent manager.
Keep the momentum going. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, anything else on this general subject here? I think the big thing now is just to try to ferret out people who are interested, and I think we need to not scare them off
Yeah.
with too big a task.
I'll work with, get with Canute, and we'll refine the list and
Yeah,
Sounds good.
then work with Dan, get the word out, and
we'll pursue what we can do about pulling potential candidates in here and see what we can sell them. Okay.
Gotta be properly managed. It doesn't go awry on us.
Well, yeah. And there's other system stuff we're going to go through that we can help each other with, that we know bits and pieces. And if we get a chance, we'll try to document it in the red book for future. But in the moment, we'll see what we can do. All right. Well, anything else from anybody? Covered a lot of territory. We're up again in challenging times in a lot of ways. We'll see what comes out the other end and go from there. So unless there's other discussions and things, I think I'm making a motion for adjournment at 8:45.
Sounds good.
Motion.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
aye.
Well, all right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you residents for participating. We'll be trying to get the word out in various areas on a more frequent basis if we can. So
And thanks, Jim and Phil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep, have a good evening.
Dave, thanks, and Dan. Everyone.